but we do have a quorum. And the first item on the agenda is approval of the minutes of December 5th. And thank you, Katie Boyle, for doing such a great job. And before we approve the minutes, I wanted to ask if anyone is willing to take notes. You don't have to do palace minutes. You can just shoot me the notes and we can fix up the minutes. But we don't have a secretary right now. Any volunteers? Jason, you've done your duty. I'm not going to ask you.
I mean, I'm happy to take some notes. It might take me a couple days to get them to you.
Oh, that's fine. Thank you, Katie. We should elect you secretary as the next order of business, since you've done this 3 times. Okay, is there any, do I have a motion to approve the minutes of the December 5th meeting?
Yep, I'll make the motion.
Okay, thank you. A second. I don't hear a second.
I'll second.
Okay. Barbara, are you there? I wanted to say hello. I'm sure she'll join us. Anyway, all in favor, say aye.
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 Okay. The minutes are approved. Thank you. The minutes are approved. This work group is in business until January 31st. We cease to exist as of February 1st. The outgoing chair of the State Board of Elections, Bob Brink, told me that he would like to recommend to his successor that the work group continue because we're doing such a great job. I would like to speak with his successor, whoever that may be. He has an idea, but I don't, his successor has not yet been named. So we shall see where that goes. And otherwise we terminate February 1st. The next thing, I just wanted to lay that out to you and mention this recommendation by the current chair to his successor that the work group be continued. I've circulated several drafts. We reviewed one. The one that you have before you now incorporates recommendations from the work group at our last meeting. It also has a whole bunch of very small stylistic changes that are intended to make it less bureaucrat speak and more plain English so that people can actually read it. You'll see a lot of those just kind of speckled throughout the document. And I will indicate to you where there's been any effort to make a change or modify from the previous draft. They're really about 6 or 7 changes in substance, most of them minor, 1 or 2 major. And do you have in front of you the current draft? And the first thing I want to mention is it's double spaced now. And so a lot of the pages have some widows at the bottom, orphans at the top, then it's put into a single space format. I'll straighten all that out so you won't have things dangling at the bottom of the page or the top, or leftovers hanging over on the next page. So we'll start with page 5. And in response,
I'm sorry, Lisa, which one are we looking at?
we're looking at the document called Final Draft. And I sent it to you in both a clean copy and in red line.
Okay,
And
so which one? The clean one or the red line?
It's, I think the pagination said, so I will check to make sure. That's a good point. Let's see if the pages. Yeah, I think so. Okay. That's true. They're not identical. So let's look at the red one. It's a little hard to read because it's smaller.
The red line?
Yeah, the red line.
Okay, thank you.
There's reference to funding. And in the prior draft, I sort of indicated that there was an undercurrent of funding issues throughout. And I was told by my work group members, all of you, that funding should be in the foreground. And so there is a paragraph added here, pretty much. And it really, it's been expanded a little, and I found some citations to support it. And I've also added references to funding elsewhere in the document as needed, just to suggest that there be funding provided. Because elections cost money and they are often way down on government's list of priorities for funding. And I also wanted to mention that Katie provided me some updated numbers from 2021. Katie, what is APA? I couldn't find that precisely.
Oh, sorry, it's the Auditor of Public Accounts.
Okay.
So I can send you the official title of that document that it came from, but it's from the annual comparative report of local government revenues and expenditures. And it's kind of data that is supporting information that was provided in compiling that document.
Okay, that would be great to perfect the citation. So it shows that the state, that really the localities pay about 4 times what the state provides, and the state does provide funding for some other items that are not purely monetary grants to the localities. Obviously, the voter registration database is a major one, the voter registration system, and I guess does state provide for presidential primaries? So there are additional funds in there that don't necessarily show up in dollar signs. But overall, it is about 4-to-1 ratio localities to the state. And the next one is information about the APA is the numbers from the APA are mentioned in footnote 9, but please don't bother looking at that. On page 7 of the red line, I expanded a little bit on the resources that we used and the source material. Just acknowledging that basically we drew upon the wealth of knowledge from within the work group. We had a wide range of experience, and I wanted to make clear that a lot of what is in here in terms of our recommendations based on that experience, as well as mentioning the scholarship in the field. Particularly, it's not said here specifically, but the notion that we would have surveys actually derives from a book evaluating elections that we have been talking about since maybe the second meeting, where they were researching initially in Mesa County, Arizona, and they used surveys to try to gather information from voters and pollsters alike. And so that kind of prompted some thoughts in that direction, because a lot of our recommendations say that we need to gather the qualitative information. And I wanted to ask Walt and Allison and Jason, you got a survey from Elect, right? And I just wondered whether you thought that had utility. Just this has nothing to do with the report. This is just a sideline question.
Lisa, I mean, I don't think we can answer that question until we see the results of that survey. At this point, it's not published. The results aren't. We anticipate that we will see some of those results in the post-election report. The email we received said that our responses would be used for inclusion in the post-election report, but until we actually see that, I'm not sure that we can actually say whether it provided useful information or not.
I guess what I was really asking was whether, or what you thought of the questions, whether you thought they were reasonable and fair, and whether they ask you the kind of questions you would want to be asked. Okay, no, all right, that's fine. Uh,
Lisa,
yes.
I would have, it's been a while since I did it. I was gonna try to go and look at them. So I don't really know. I don't know that I can say 100%, but I thought some of the questions were pretty good. Like Allison said, I don't know how they'll be used or if they will be used, but from what I recall, I think they asked things like how, the helpfulness of the department and maybe even the timeliness of their information. But it's been like, well, it feels like a year ago, but it was just like 2 or 3 weeks, but it was the holidays. So plus I just don't remember things like I used to. So I don't remember exactly, but I felt okay about the questions.
Okay. Okay, I mean, I was just curious, because these things can be either helpful or not necessarily helpful. So I was just wondering sort of, abstractly, whether that would be good for us. And we'll see what they say in the post-election report. It should be coming up soon. I think it'll be presented on the 18th, I suspect. Okay, there's on page 11, there's some edits for ease of reading and clarity. Let's see. And some changes on same day registration recommendations, just to add in particular sort of to enhance the process, to get information on how each locality carries out the same day registration process, just to, not just for unanimity and consistency, but if someone does something that's an interesting tweak or an improvement, that everyone can learn from that. So that's on page 11. On page 13, during the last meeting, Tram mentioned that the Spanish language version of information on the website was out of date. And I did note that in her presentation to the joint meeting of the two Privileges and Elections Committees, Commissioner Beals mentioned that specifically as something that they were changing, and they were going to have constant monitoring to keep things up to date. So I feel like she's gotten the jump on this recommendation, which is a good thing. Cannot be critical of that. And we did reference it here, but that's fine. I mean, it's a fact. It happened. It's in the past. We hope that this will. And on page 18, again, security and feedback from the IT people who are saying specifically that we should modify the security section. And Katie pointed out that we had agreed to combine cyber and physical security because the advisory group, the RSS advisory group, has standards that affect both. So the recommendations have been blended to take out. There's one reference to physical security in here, but otherwise it's been merged more or less with cybersecurity to handle that. And then on page 27, I wanted to mention something to you that you might not have known about. There is footnote 27, it's on page 27. It makes reference to a study that was done out of the University of California in San Diego. And I spoke with one of the people leading that study, Professor Thad Kuser. They were asking voters, and they had a pretty large sample nationwide, well over 1,000 people were sampled, and they asked them whether watching videos increased their confidence in the elections. And there were really two questions. One was just a general one about confidence in the elections, and the other was whether they trusted that they thought that the election officials committed fraud themselves. And the two videos were Virginia's, which we've all seen, the one with various election officials, registrars, elect personnel standing, silently with their arms crossed or whatever. And the other one was from Maricopa County, Arizona, where they walked through the steps. I guess I haven't seen it myself. It might be a tour of their facility, of a facility, something like that, to show all of the security aspects in there. And with respect to the first question about, in general, did this affect your thinking about elections, or do you have greater confidence in elections? The yes response was an increase of 2.3% over the what's the word? But they also showed a third video, which was basically a State Farm ad. It was complete. It had nothing to do with elections. And the people who saw the State Farm ad didn't have any change, of course, in their reaction to elections. But the people who watched the Virginia video and the Arizona video increased their confidence by 2.3%, which, according to the political scientists, is statistically significant. So I simply mentioned that in here. I thought it was a good thing. It's an encouragement and should be an inducement to the state to do more of this kind of voter outreach and education to enhance confidence in elections. So that's, so everything else in here is simply meant to clarify. Do you have any suggestions? You want to make any changes? Let's hear what you have to say.
Lisa,
Yes.
I don't have page numbers on mine because I'm looking at it digitally. But under number 8, part B, survey spelled wrong.
Oh.
I had noted that.
I don't know.
And I'm looking on the red line edition.
Yeah.
So it may be correct on the other.
No, it wouldn't be.
That's page, it's on page 23 of the red line version. I thought you typed it up very well, by the way, Lisa, and your use of vocabulary was, I give you an A+.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. But well, I nearly flunked Latin
Oh, well,
in 7th grade.
well,
So
it happens to the best of us.
yeah.
Since Allison pointed that out, I noticed that the little scribbles are underneath that. When I looked at, there were some other places where I noticed there were spacing errors, but it was, I didn't really plan on pointing them out, but I would look, like, once you accept changes, I would look for the little, wavy things where, Word says, oh, is this a problem? But there was one place where it was like, there was the number 145. I think it was toward the end, and it's on page 26. There are approximately 145 elements. There should be a space there. There's actually no little scribble under there, which is interesting. And there was somewhere else where there was a scribble, so I would just look at those.
Okay. Okay. If somebody can tell me how to When I deleted the footnote or moved footnotes around, sometimes I get spaces that I couldn't take out. So if anybody knows how to take out this, between lines. Well, if this is the case, I would like to, I wonder if we can use can we use the show of hands thing at the bottom? The raise hand? Yeah. I was thinking maybe we would simply vote on this. I could. You can put them down for now. And I would love it if we could have a motion on this. Because if we accept it, then we're pretty much done with our job. And we would take public comment. But other than that, we could go back to our day jobs.
Yeah, I make a motion that we accept this fabulous report that is well written
Thank you, Wanda,
to be submitted
with corrections.
with corrections. Thank you.
Second.
Okay. Have a second?
Yes, that was me, Kim.
Oh, great, Kim. Thank you. Okay. All in favor, raise your hand.
Lisa, this is Barbara. I'm
Yes.
just going to abstain simply because unfortunately I've missed so many of our sessions from the fall
Mhm.
that, and I did not have the time to really spend that I should have. So it's not that I'm in disagreement, but I'm just not comfortable saying yes until I've had more time. So I just wanted you to know why I was doing that.
Oh, well, thank you, Barbara. That's perfectly understandable. Okay, we have a majority and other than Barbara unanimity, so thank you all. We can lower
Katie,
our
Katie,
hands.
did you get our names? Or did you get a count?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
So, let me just run it by you and make sure everything's right. So I had an abstention
Sure.
from Barbara, a yes from me, from Chair Katine Gerchik, from Allison, from Jason, from Walt, from Kim, from Wanda, and from Tram. Is that right?
Right. Yes.
All right. Very good. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you very much, all of you. And I'll tidy it up and put it in proper working order. Thank you for catching typos. Do we have any? Yes, Allison. You raised your hand again. Did you?
I did, Lisa. I
Yes.
wanted to, before we move on to public comment, now that we've voted on this, just thank you. You've done the lion's share of the work, keeping us moving forward draft after draft, in the last year. So just thank you for your work and, having chaired a committee with wide-ranging viewpoints in the past. I know that sometimes it's a challenge, but you have certainly allowed everyone to express their opinions and frustrations, to get us to where we are. So just thank you before we move on and adjourn. Given that this is our last meeting before our termination, I thought it was important that you hear that from our VREV folks that we do appreciate you, even though I think we were hard on you at times. It was well meant, and thank you.
No, I did take it personally. I just know that this is a very diverse group in terms of points of view, and people feel very strongly about this. Some of you have dedicated your lives to elections, pretty much, at least your professional lives, and it's a very challenging work and very rewarding. And I think that everyone has really put a lot of care into this. I mean, the arguments and the debates were enlightening, and I was really very, very happy to have everyone's participation. And I want to thank all of you, and when I make the presentation, I will acknowledge you, I promise, and all of your contributions. And I won't say that you will hurt on me. So thank you too. Okay, do we have any public comment? No, hearing none. Thank you all again. Katie, I look forward to getting the notes. And I'm glad that you've completed this task. I hope everyone is happy with the results, and good luck to everyone, and we'll go from here. So thanks so much. The meeting is adjourned. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Lisa. Great job. Great job.
Oh,
Absolutely.